Some shows lean left, some lean right, but we lean local and business. This is North Georgia Business Radio X with Phil Bonelli. For the next hour, we will celebrate the businesses in our area and the people that run them. Find us on Facebook at North Georgia Business Radio X and online at northgeorgiabusinessradiox.com. Now, here's Phil Bonelli.
There's so many things that people see that represent your business, your marketing, your advertising, your social media. What about the landscaping? Joining us today on the show is Steve Murray, CEO, owner, founder, all the above. We'll break down his title of New Leaf Landscaping. Steve, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Phil. I'm glad to be here.
Steve, I love, of all the businesses we have on the show, they're all different and unique. But you're what you provide with amazing landscaping and handling the maintenance of it is you provide a worry-free, wonderful cover of the book. What is this? I'm walking up to a business. I'm going up to somebody's home. What's the first thing I see? This amazing landscaping. It's wonderful.
Oh, absolutely. Curb appeal is so important to buildings and residences.
Mm-hmm.
And it's when you're selling your home, too, it is amazing how much, if you have great curb appeal, how quickly you can sell your house, too. You want to enjoy it while you're there, but as you're moving, it's an important aspect of it as well.
Well, and I didn't even think about that. But as we're coming to a place in the real estate market where, the transaction velocity is decreasing. There's a little more inventory. You want to stand out a little bit more. Hey, you going to sell your house in 60 days? That's enough time for New Leaf to get it look sell ready.
Absolutely.
All right. So, Steve, tell the audience a little bit about the business. How'd you get going? Where are you at now?
All right. Well, I bought the business in April of 2001. Actually, April 1st, 2001. So we're just passing 22 years in business. It had a different name then. I bought it from a fellow local guy here, and it was called Quality Lawn Maintenance, and that had started in 1989.
Okay.
So I ran with that name for the first year, and when I bought the business, it had 3 maintenance crews. And so it was a great jumping off point. I was at the point where I could manage the business without actually having to be doing the everyday, yard work.
Mm-hmm.
I had crews to do that. So after about 1 year, we rebranded and changed the name to New Leaf Landscape Services and decided to provide full landscape service. So everything from design to installation to maintenance to hardscapes, irrigation. We were a full service contractor. So I ran it myself for the first year, and then I hired a manager that I had known from back in the days at Gibbs Landscape in Atlanta that had worked with me for several years, and that allowed me to start growing the business, start selling.
Okay.
And he would manage the business. So it just continued to grow over the last 22 years, and today we are at about 21 maintenance crews in 2 offices. We have an office here, our main office in Gainesville, and then we also have an office in Lawrenceville.
All right.
And that office primarily does commercial maintenance. We do commercial and residential maintenance as well as full service in the Gainesville market. We have 3 installation crews, 2 flower crews, an irrigation crew. So we have grown, and we have been blessed to have grown the business tremendously over the last 22 years.
So as you go out to grow the business, and you have grown it tremendously, what is it about New Leaf that makes people want to be your customer?
Well, I think, one simple thing is we call people back.
That helps.
It does help, and it sounds really simple, but, returning people's phone calls. Just from initial impression, we're going to call you back that same day, no more than 24 hours, but we're going to call you back that same business day. And we just provide a level of expertise that I don't think a lot of folks have. We've got a very talented team of designers and operation folks, team leaders that have been with us running crews for years, some 10 years, some 15 years. We've got some longtime employees that really love what they do and do it really well.
And I think you would attract this sort of employee who loves what they do and do it well because you have that sort of environment of excellence. It's not just a mow, blow, and go.
Right. We're a long way away from mow, blowing, and going.
Yeah.
Which is what a lot of landscapers do because they don't really understand what they're cutting, the type of grass they're cutting, what they're pruning, and when it should be pruned properly. There's a lot involved that that most people really don't understand. I mean, you could prune something at the wrong time, and Mrs. Smith isn't going to see her hydrangeas bloom that summer. It's not a good look. So
yeah,
you've got to know your product. You've got to know the timing. There's a lot involved in it.
Mm-hmm. And things can change. I mean, it's nature. It's
Absolutely.
plants.
Absolutely.
So ongoing consultation is key.
Absolutely. But we're set up to really provide great customer service. As far as the maintenance goes, typically our account managers are going to handle about 3 or 4 crews and all the customer interaction that goes with it. So they're that main conduit of communication. And so, it used to be where we had to have, a big phone system in the office. Well, all our customers know our managers now. They use their cell phones. I mean, there's no reason to have, a lot of calls coming into the office anymore. So, we've trained them well. We retain the best, and it's worked well for us.
So you've got good decentralized account management.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
And if somebody needs something or wants to change the day, something's done, you don't want them calling the office so you could hunt down their account manager.
That's exactly right.
Shoot them a text.
That's right. That's how it works. And we even when we sell it, we say, hey, listen, we're flexible. If you're having, for our residential customers especially, if you're having a party or you need something special done, for the weekend, just call us and we'll help get it taken care of.
At a higher level.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
I just thought of a good tagline. New leaf when the other guys just won't cut it.
I love that.
What do you think?
That is awesome.
I
need to hire you to do our marketing.
Oh, I tell you what. Fun times. Make some cool t-shirts. So let me ask you this, and it's so great. I'd love getting to speak with folks like you and hear the story. Because, people see you where you're at now. And you've got this great business, a great team. But when you first bought the business, you got 3 install crews. You said maintenance crews. Maintenance crews is it. What all went into your decision? How did you feel comfortable taking the big leap to go full service?
Well, I had the experience doing that.
Right.
So, my background is, I have a degree in horticulture. I've been in the landscape business all my life. Before I moved to Georgia in 1986, I lived up north. I had a small business up there, which was basically a small full-service company. So I've been around, full service companies. I worked for a company called Gibbs Landscape down in Atlanta for 12 years, and they were full service. I learned so much from Jim Gibbs. He was an amazing mentor, and just learned about how to provide quality service, how to provide, excellent landscapes. So I worked for him, from 86 to 98, and then I went and worked for a real estate development company for 3 years in Gwinnett County. And it was Weeks Realty, and they had their own landscape division that not only took care of the buildings that they owned, but we also competed out in the marketplace as well. So I learned, and they were a REIT, so they were publicly owned, and so I had to learn the numbers even more. I learned them at Gibbs, but I had to fine tune, and so I had a lot of comfort going into not only how to provide the service, but what growth looks like. When you add managers, when you can add salespeople, when you can add overhead, when to hold back. So I had a lot of experience going into the field before I made the purchase in 2001.
So important. And for, younger folks listening or people that want to do their own thing, the importance of being on a team where you can learn. You worked at Gibbs Gardens for 12 years, then 3 years for the REIT. And all of those got you to the place. And then you had to almost, in a way, take a step back. You went out of full service to go forward. We're going to jump back in to kind of how to know when to make those decisions when we return on North Georgia Business Radio X. do you get to where you want to go? You can't just jump right to it. How do you put the steps in place to climb that ladder to the top? That's what we're going to talk about in this segment of North Georgia Business Radio X. I'm your host, Phil Bonelli, here with the one and only world-famous Steve Murray. And Steve, you're the owner, the founder of New Leaf Landscaping. What is the title what's on your email signature? President. Okay.
Yes.
President. And you do a great job of that. And there are managers and there are leaders. And I think you need to lead people and manage processes. And you do a great job of both. But particularly, I've seen the people leadership part. You've done a very wonderful job and continue to.
Well, and we use a lot of outside help with that, too. I've realized I don't have to be the smartest guy in the room. It's two things. One, you want to surround yourself with people that have skill sets other than yours, and people that are smarter than you, and you don't need to be intimidated by that because that's the only way you're going to grow.
That's right.
But we have used consultants to come in and do leadership training for the last probably 15 years.
Wow.
And it has made a huge difference, not only for the executive team, but also all the management team meets quarterly, and the executive team meets monthly with consultants.
Okay, I love it. All right, so on that note, you used to be an executive at Gibbs Gardens, Gibbs Landscaping.
Right.
And I want to hear that part of the story because, as I mentioned, coming in from the break, these steps were in place. You had your own smaller full-service landscape company up north. You came down here and worked for a great company for 12 years.
Yes.
Then you had another experience for 3 years. Both of these gave you multiple steps up in your skill set.
Absolutely. I could have not have done what I've done without that experience. When I came to Gibbs in 1986, my thought was I'll work for them for a year and then I'll go back out, because I was a business owner prior. But every time I thought about it, I ended up getting a promotion and taking on more and more responsibility and learning more and more. And by 1990, I was promoted to VP of Operations, which was my position for the last 8 years. So I was in budgeting meetings. I was, in meetings one-on-one with Jim Gibbs and just got so much insight and learned so much. And they invested heavily in leadership as well. So, we were surrounded by people that just kind of poured into us. And really grew us.
And there's two sides to this coin. One, you worked hard, did the right thing, so you were able to get in these ever-increasing positions, which all prepared you to go out on your own.
Absolutely.
So if you had left after a year, New Leaf would likely not be what it is today.
Or not even been.
Not even been.
That's right.
Or a mow, blow, and go.
Yes, that's
right. And that's not what we want.
I wouldn't have been in here talking to you. I'd be out cutting somebody's grass myself.
That's right.
That's right.
All right. But then also, let's think about, you've got a great leadership team. And you have these executives underneath you. And you invest heavily in them. And there is always a possibility one of them goes and starts their company. And I would say that two things. Do you want to invest like crazy in them because then when they're with you, they're going to do well.
That's right.
And how do you, as you're building them up, what do you do to make, if you've got some entrepreneurial minded folks, which I think make great leaders, how do you get them more invested in your company to keep them there?
Right. Well, give them the opportunity to make their own decisions, and I don't need to be the one, managing the day-to-day. I give them, once they're up and running and they're trained, they have the ability to make decisions on a very large level. So it's almost like they're in the part of the business as well. I mean, they just on a day-to-day basis have a lot of autonomy.
Yeah, they're running their own business lines.
That's right.
If you're just joining us on North Georgia Business Radio X, I'm your host, Phil Bonelli, here with Steve Murray, president, owner, founder of New Leaf Landscaping, and just a heck of a guy.
Thank you, Phil.
Thank you. Glad you're here. I'm glad I'm getting this great conversation. All you got was a cup of tepid coffee.
But it tastes so good.
It does.
Yes.
Let us just say, I want to just put a plug out there. If you're listening to this and you like coffee, you need to go to Meadowlark Coffee off of the Gainesville Square. It's delicious even once it gets room temperature.
It's fabulous at room temperature. I can't even imagine how good it's going to be when it's heated up.
See, and that's why I didn't want it to be too hot, because I didn't want your mind to be blown.
That's right.
And JP over there, he'll blow your mind with the coffee.
Yeah, and I can get a full sip in.
Yes.
Yeah.
There's pros and cons.
There is.
Great stuff. Okay, so I love that. And giving them, letting, a lot about what people want when they think about their own business. It's not necessarily just more financial reward. Some of it is that, but they want to be calling the shots. They want to be flexing those muscles,
right.
Getting their wings out
Right.
there flying.
And part of, we're growing each year.
Mm-hmm.
But part of the reason for growth is to retain people.
Right.
Because without growth, there's limited opportunity.
Mm-hmm.
And so, in order to keep the great folks I have, you need to keep providing more and more opportunity for them and more things that they can experience. And with the growth comes those things. And so it's really important as well to develop your leadership bench as well. To have people, they're sitting on the bench getting ready to come out and take over these positions. We had, about 2 years ago, we had several opportunities. We expanded a little bit. We had a person leave, and we were able to fill all the positions in-house.
Wow.
And that was the first time we were able to do it without having to go and hire from the outside, and it just felt so great.
Oh.
Not, to have those folks in place and just ready to go. And so that's key for us, and we're continuing to do that, is hire good folks, train them up, and when the opportunity's there, they're ready to go.
Get them in the culture, and then
Absolutely.
They might be learning a new role, but they're not learning a new organization.
That's right.
And you are, though, that if you only get from inside, you're kind of lacking in bringing in outside ideas, but you're developing those leaders. You have outside leadership help coming.
That's
so you're
right.
expanding minds, growing from within. It's a beautiful thing.
It is.
I'm picturing a blooming azalea right now. That's what the business is. And I'm talking to you, and you guys help provide a lot of
That's
blooming
right.
azaleas.
That's exactly right.
So what is your favorite? This is just going in a totally different direction. If you think of your favorite plant to put in a landscape, do you have a fave?
Wow. I love camellias.
Camellias.
Japanese and Sasanquo camellias. They're
Okay.
beautiful. They bloom at different times of the year. Love hydrangeas. Love viburnum. And I've got a lot of those in my yard. My plant palette at the house really reflects kind of what I love, especially in the backyard.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, you got to have a good-looking yard.
You got to. Living on Riverside Drive, it's a commercial, so there's a lot of pressure to keep that yard looking good.
It is. There's so many great things. I mentioned, at the beginning about how it is kind of like the front, it's the cover of the book. But, if you're out there running your business, and you've got a lot of stress, how nice to come home to really a beautifully manicured oasis.
Yes. And it wasn't always that way. It took a while to get there, but it's just amazing.
It's a wonderful thing. I need to get back on the New Leaf train. New Leaf was doing my landscaping and made it wonderful, and then I moved to the farm.
You're doing farm life now, Jay.
Sometimes I have cows cut the grass.
Well, that's perfect.
It's good, unless you're about to have a kid birthday party the next day, because they leave fertilizer.
Yeah.
They're self-fertilizing lawnmowers.
Pluses and minuses.
Pluses and minuses, just like with
Everything.
everything. Yeah. All right, so that's a good list of favorite plants. Before we go to our commercial break here, what do people need to be thinking about right now in spring when it comes to their lawns?
Well, this is the time of year, with warm season grass like Bermuda and zoysia. Time to aerate. Core aerate. Get some oxygen down into that root system, loosen up the soil profile. It's also time to swap your seasonal flowers out.
Swap seasonal flowers.
So the pansies are coming out and your summer colors going in.
Okay.
It's also a great time to do landscape installation. Still, cool enough things to get established before it gets too hot. So those are the main things that are going on right now. Mulching, pine straw, those types of things.
Always doing that.
Absolutely.
All right, and New Leaf can help with all those.
Absolutely, we can help.
All right, we'll be back after this break on North Georgia Business Radio X. how do you manage seasonality in your business? We're going to talk about that coming up right now on North Georgia Business Radio X. I'm your host, Phil Bonelli, here with Steve Murray, president, owner, founder, New Leaf Landscaping, all the above. Thanks again for being here, Steve. Lots of businesses deal with seasonality in some way, shape, or form, but very few to the extent that you do in landscaping.
Absolutely. Especially in the maintenance side of the business. You know, we provide year-round service. We have 12-month contracts, annual contracts. But the labor needs for those contracts are about 60% in the late fall through early spring than peak season. So from about November to March, we only need 6 of 10 workers. And so we have to gear up every April for the season. And so, you know, we had a lot of trouble over the years trying to do that, because the only way you can be profitable in the landscape business is to manage your labor. And if you don't, you're in trouble. So we found this program back about 6 years ago. I knew about it prior but had never used it, but it's called the H-2B program. It's a government program. It's a seasonal labor program. And you can bring people in from other countries for about up to 10 months a year, and then they have to go home. So it's not a pathway to citizenship. It's just a seasonal labor pool. And so the government sets a prevailing wage. You have to pay to get them up here. You got to pay for their visas. You got to pay to get them home. If they need housing, you don't provide it, but you have to help them find it.
Okay.
And so we started in the program 6 years ago. We had 11 workers come the first year.
Okay.
9 of those 11 still are here today.
Wow.
Year 6. Yep.
And probably everyone else is their good friends. That
Oh,
they're
yeah.
like, Mr. Steve, bring these guys.
Oh, that's how it works. So this year, we are at 45 seasonal laborers that showed up. We actually have about 37 of them right now. We got 4 more coming tonight, flying into Atlanta.
All right.
And 3 more coming in about a week. And then we'll be at our 45, and these guys go right back on the same crew every year. They know the equipment. They know the customers. A lot of them even run crews. They've learned English. Our best install crew leader is a H-2B employee.
Cool.
And they are just so talented and do such a great job. And they're so excited to get here because it changes the trajectory of their lives back home. Because they're making, in an hour what they would make in a whole day.
Wow.
In their home countries.
Wow.
So they're going home in the winter. They're building homes. I mean, it's changing their lives. It's just a huge blessing for us and for them.
Oh, I love that. Love that. Love that. Yeah, you're getting great folks, and helping to be a blessing for them.
Right.
And you could send money to some charity down in some country where you could just give somebody a chance to work.
Absolutely.
What a beautiful thing that people they're so pumped to come to our country to work.
Right.
Because we have opportunity.
Right. And it would be, almost impossible to fill those 45 slots with local labor. It's just not there.
Yeah.
Ours is not an easy business. It's hot, it's cold, it's wet, there's a lot of climate issues you're dealing with, and it's hard work. I mean, it's long days.
Yep. And it's just part of the year.
Yeah.
You
absolutely.
know? So, if you're just joining us on North Georgia Business Radio X, I'm your host, Phil Bonelli, here with Steve Murray of New Leaf Landscaping, just talking about managing seasonality. You mentioned something that managing the labor cost is absolutely critical. That's a critical factor in landscaping, and that's because of the seasonality, I assume.
And that's about 50% of our direct costs of our business is labor.
Wow.
Labor is our biggest one-line expense.
And then your contracts, do you to help your customers with their budgeting and you with your cash flow, are they like a fixed amount each month that you just know?
Yes, we annualize the price. So
okay.
It's even payments over a 12-month period.
Is that the norm in the industry, or does it vary?
For companies that do it really well, that's the norm. I mean, there are small Mobilogo, as we said before, that charge by the cut. And, but in the wintertime, there's no revenue.
They're sending it home.
Yeah. So, But the norm in the industry, the way it should be done, was through annual contracts.
Okay. I like it. So, what did you do before you came upon this program?
Well, it was a challenge. Back in early 2000s, it was a lot. We were smaller, so the requirement for labor wasn't as big, and there was more labor. And we've always required, people need to be legal. But prior to E-Verify, back in I think it was about 2010, you had to make sure, you just had to look and make sure it looked real, that their ID looked real. And as long as it looked real, there was no other test to be given.
Yeah.
And E-Verify came along, and then we had to go through the system. It actually had to be real.
Right.
And so I'm not so naive to think that some of the people we hired back in 2000, even though they had an ID, may have not been real. But once 2010 came and E-Verify came along, of course, we're going to comply with the law. We always have. Then it became more difficult. And a lot of labor left the state because of E-Verify.
Oh,
they went
wow.
other places. So the labor pool shrunk. And so probably 2010 to about 2016, 17, it was a struggle. I mean, we were all over the place trying to get labor, job fairs and, having people come in and, setting up like little clinics to show them what we did. And but it was very hard, and it was very stressful on the managers and the crew leaders.
Oh, yeah.
Because they're training somebody new all the time. So this H-2B program was really the savior of the labor situation for our company.
Well, and it goes into wherever you can find them from, you need to find employees who want to work.
Absolutely.
Easier said than done.
Absolutely, it is.
But what a key. And so just presenting an opportunity for folks who want that. I'll tell you what, we've at the old farm, we've had a good bit of volunteers who they're excited about farming and learning about that. Now, they're not working there 40 and 50 hours a week, but they're coming huffing out, building fences, doing great things because they are excited about it. And, I tell you, one thing, I'm able to generate excitement because I personally am excited. I am very excited about what I'm doing, and so that is contagious for the right kind of person. And a lesson to take from that is you've got to love what you do. You've got to be your number one brand advocate.
Absolutely.
So,
and we do every Monday morning at 7 o'clock at both offices, we do simulcast, but we have a team meeting, and it's really just to kind of share in the successes, praise people for what they've been doing, brag on people that have gotten great customer reviews, getting people excited, keeping them in the loop. I mean, communication with your team is so critical in those Monday morning meetings, and they don't last long. It's a 15, 20-minute meeting, but it just keeps people fired up. And then every night we have a different manager closing, and they're out there in the back greeting everybody coming back, talking to them, just engaging with them, and it really works. It's just a great environment.
If you want the lights to be on, you got to plug them in. You got to keep them plugged in.
That's exactly right.
Amen.
Exactly right.
So what, if you're a business owner and you've been running this business 20 years, over 20 years, what keeps you excited? Because it can be tiring.
It can, but I just love what I do. I've always loved landscaping. I've always loved horticulture. So it's not even a job to me. I mean, it's stressful.
Sure.
You're managing 100 people.
Whew. I
But with the team I have in place, they make it a lot easier, and they're doing most of the heavy lifting. So, putting that team in place has really kind of kept me inspired as well. But I love it.
One big thing I take from that is you've got to love what you do so you can inspire a great team. And building a great team is a harder work than doing what you do because that's what you like. But if you can inspire the team and build them, then you get to have the fun of doing what you do versus banging your head against the wall. All right. It's bittersweet. We only have one more segment to go, and we're going to break down our final leadership lessons from Steve Murray, New Leaf Landscaping, here on North Georgia Business Radio X. What difference is your business making to the world? Welcome back to North Georgia Business Radio X. I'm your host, Phil Bonelli, here with Steve Murray, New Leaf Landscaping. Steve, you've built a great business, continue to build it, developing people, providing excellent service, all that goes into that. But really, that's not enough for you. And New Leaf is a tool for improving your community. Tell us about that.
Well, a couple things. One, I see our business as a ministry, and the management sees it that same way too. I've been a Christian for over 30 years. I've been a businessman for 22 years with my own business. I joined a group called C12. It's a Christian CEO group back in 2004, and that's when I really saw that the two can be combined. Your business can be a ministry. You don't have to be a Christian and a businessman. You can be a Christian business. And so that's really when the business took on a whole different shift. And we try to give back to not only are we open about our faith, I mean, our mission statement is we are a team dedicated to God. Wait a minute. We are a team committed to honoring God by providing premium landscape service.
I love it.
And so we were bold putting that out there. I was a little nervous about putting it out there, but best thing I ever did. And it was a game changer for New Leaf. But we try to, we're open about our faith. We pray before our meetings. We don't force it on anybody, but if they care to join us, they can, when we close out meetings, we'll, ask them to bow their heads and we'll pray the meeting out. We pray before the beginning of all our management meetings. But it is it's just the culture that it just permeates. We started a program called CPI, Community Partnership Initiative. And my VP of Business Development, Josh Everett, came up with that several years ago. And our goal is that each maintenance crew provides a no-charge service for somebody in need. So either they're going through a tough time, a husband might be sick, or an older person that's husband has died, or a nonprofit. So we provide that service, and we also provide, because our install team wants to be part of that, we also provide that for them too, projects that will get them involved too, and we'll donate, plants and labor to good causes as well.
I love that. First off, I think, you're not using your Christian faith as something to try to be marketing. It's just, this is who we are.
That's right.
And if somebody has no belief in an intelligent creator, that's fine. They're still going to love dealing with the business who values honesty, doing everything to your utmost.
That's right.
Treating people with love. These are universally embraced attributes. It's almost like they were implanted on our hearts. I don't know, calling me crazy.
It's amazing.
But that's wonderful. And I tell you what, I love, I've seen and worked with a lot of business owners who have, become successful, and they've leveraged financial success to charitable giving. And I love that. That's wonderful. But even if you don't charitably give $1, just the fact, if you are running a company with integrity, you're providing all this opportunity for people. You're helping these people who come on these visas and your full-time 365 days a year employees feed their families, build their homes.
That's right.
Oh, it's a beautiful thing.
That's right. Without the seasonal workers, the full-time workers don't have a job, because they need those folks to fulfill the contracts that we provide our customers. So it's a huge deal, not only for our team, our permanent team, but our seasonal team as well. I
love that. It's something that it is extra inspiring to run a successful business. You can't just say, hey, we're going to do this business just so we can do lawns for free, because you got to be profitable so that you can really give off of that fruit.
Absolutely.
And it's beautiful.
And we really take a lot of pride in our core values too. Our main one is servant's heart. And we have 7 core values: servant's heart, customer focused, high integrity, team player, positive attitude, accountable, and dedicated. And we'll go through these probably 2 to 3 times a year in those Monday morning meetings I discussed. So we'll ask for volunteers from the field, from the managers, to speak about that core value and keep that in front of everybody, so that kind of permeates their being while they're working with New Leaf.
I love that. Just you got to keep reinforcing it.
Absolutely.
Keep reinforcing, and you're having ownership and buy-in from all those employees,
right,
to really push that forward. That's a beautiful thing, and it makes it so much more inspiring to get up every day. There's so much more you're doing than making a buck.
That's right.
Oh, so you mentioned 100 employees.
It's peak season, we're at 100 employees.
Peak season 100, so your normal is like 60?
60.
Or not normal, this is normal.
This is normal, but yeah, winter season, off season, we're about 60. Yep.
All right, so you have built a good team, and you're empowering your leaders to a big degree. How do you, even with that though, in some ways, because you're delegating responsibility, you're kind of farther from the people on the front lines because they don't have to come to you for everything.
Right.
Are the Monday morning meetings and things like that the way that you kind of connect with everybody? How do you do that as the owner who's appropriately built in those layers of leadership underneath you? How do you see everyone, or are you even able to do that?
Well, the Monday morning meetings are a huge way to see everybody. Even if it's only for 15 minutes every Monday. The other way is, I mentioned, as a closing manager, I'll participate in that. Like last night was my closing night for the month.
Okay.
So I'm out there, shaking hands and talking and checking on everybody. The other thing is just kind of about management by walking around. So all the managers, that are not on the executive team are down at the other end of the building. So I'm just walking down, checking on them, talking to them, chatting with them. So they see me on a regular basis. And it's kind of freeing for me not to be managing them because I can just kind of love on them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On last week's show with Chief Jay Parrish, he was talking about how the law enforcement officers, they need some mental health help because they go through so much, traumatic experiences. Right. And that it's imperative that they get their peers to help be the front line with them because they don't want to come to the boss with some weakness, even though he makes it clear that he wants them to. They're afraid to do that. So, because they're not reporting directly to you, they can feel more comfortable having...
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Yes.
That's great. I like that. Management by walking around. You got to do it some.
You got to.
You got to do it some. So tell us this. We're here. You've built the company up to this point. You continue to grow it, to serve more people, and to give opportunities for your leaders. Where do you see the company in 3 or 5 years?
Well, we actually had a 5-year growth meeting late last year.
Okay.
We used Robert Mallon to do a lot of our consulting. You know Robert.
I do, thank goodness.
And he led that meeting with us. And, we just, things like revenue projections, how much growth do we want each year? Different office locations. Do we want to expand beyond the 2 we have to help serve our market? What kind of trucks we're going to be driving, what kind of equipment we're going to be using, how many new managers are we going to need to support that growth? And so we're going to revisit that every year.
Okay.
And just see how we're coming towards our 5-year goal.
You got to have that. Have it out in front.
Absolutely.
All right. We're going to do something that I'm just feeling inspired because I love talking to you, Steve. And I forget to do it on many shows, but we're going to do a wrap-up.
I love it.
So what are 3 things about landscaping our business we should rap about?
I would say quality.
Quality.
Customer service.
Customer service.
And leadership.
And leadership. Okay. That's what we're going to do. Do you want to rap first, or do you want me to?
I'm going to let you have the whole thing.
All right.
I love listening to you rap.
Oh, quality. Don't settle for anything but the best. Steve comes around. It's like he's S on his chest. Superman coming there, taking care of your yard, taking care of the bushes. It isn't so hard. Customer service. Call back in 24 hours. They're there in the sunshine or in rain showers. Leadership. Building up the team. Working for Steve. I think it feels like a dream. Every Monday, get together 15 minutos. Come on in and learn. Get led by the... see, I had nothing for utos. I don't know why I went with that word, but
you were
it was
on a
fun.
roll, though.
I was on a roll.
Great.
Steve, thank you. So many great lessons that I hope you as business leaders and aspiring business leaders can learn from. Come on back next week for more North Georgia Business Radio X.
You've been listening to North Georgia Business Radio X with Phil Bonelli. What local business do you know that should be highlighted on our program? Let us know. Just search North Georgia Business Radio X on Facebook or contact Bo at businessradiox.com. See you next time, and remember to support our local businesses.